iOS 26 has a stunning new design and incredible features. I really like the direction iOS is going, even if there are a lot of kinks that need to be worked out before its release in September. Here are my 1 week impressions. So let me start with an obvious disclaimer. This is the very first developer beta. There's a lot that needs to be cleaned up and tweaked. Take my criticism here with a grain of salt because a lot of it is likely to change between now and September. Now, on the other hand, as pointed out by Aline Sims, that doesn't mean we shouldn't air our grievances. This is the time when Apple is most open to hearing feedback. So all of my complaints in this video have been filed as official bug reports to Apple, with the feedback IDs posted in the video description. With that out of the way, let's start with liquid glass. Liquid glass is kind of ridiculous and absolutely beautiful. The warping effect is remarkable and incredibly realistic, and it really sings on a ProMotion display. The specular highlights around the edge of liquid glass materials look really cool too. It reacts live to the movement of your phone in your hand very convincingly. Now, this isn't Apple's first rodeo with translucency. While liquid glass is more transparent and less frosted than before, it isn't as hard to read as people fear in real-world usage. The reduced transparency option in accessibility settings turns all the liquid glass into the frosted gray material you're used to. Liquid glass isn't all clear either. You can have color-tinted buttons that pop. Tab bars used to be a simple button at the bottom of the screen with a colorful outline. Liquid glass tab bars are flashy and animated. You tap on a tab and the outline shape turns to liquid, flies over, and plops down like a living blob of jello. The keyboard now has a rounded edge that makes it look like it's sitting on top of the app rather than part of the app. On the other hand, though, the keyboard letters are a little taller and narrower in a way that makes it look like the Android font Roboto. And I mean that in a derogatory way. Liquid glass isn't everywhere, though. Not everything has an interesting background that can shine through. Apps like Settings, Mail, Notes are still dark gray on black or light gray on white, which makes sense, but the difference can be a little jarring. The spacing has also become much more generous on list views, and Settings is a great example of this. In iOS 18, you used to be able to see your name at the top, the entire first group of settings, and the top half of the second group of settings. In iOS 26, the density is so low that you only see the first group and none of the second. I can't say I'm a fan of the change. On a more positive note, Apple has added some awesome features to the lock screen and home screen. You can turn any old 2D picture into a somewhat 3D scene and see the perspective change. One reason I've never liked using a picture on my home screen is because when you fill your home screen up with icons, they cover up the picture. But with the new clear icon style, you can see much more of your wallpaper shining through. And while I still don't think this is my jam, I have to admit it does look pretty cool. Apple is taking another crack at simplifying the Safari toolbar. From left to right, you have the back button, page menu, address bar, refresh, and more. They tried this once before in the iOS 15 beta unsuccessfully, but with this attempt, there are two key changes. Although the toolbar does float over the content, web designers don't need to make any changes to their website. They don't need to add a safe area. Your phone automatically extends the bottom of the page so that nothing is covered up or lost. Also, you can opt out of it. In Safari settings, you can choose between this modern design, the iOS 15 style design with the full bottom toolbar, or the classic design with a top address bar and bottom toolbar. But personally, I love it. I really like the simplicity and the minimalism, and it still has all the same functionality. You can easily swipe up on the address bar to get to your tab overview, or swipe left and right to flip between your most recent tabs. But I'm also that psycho who uses the compact layout on the Mac. iOS 26 has the first ground-up redesign of the camera app since iOS 7. The rumors indicated that this redesign would go back to two main modes, photo and video. All the other related modes would be in a submenu that would appear when you tap on either photo or video. This isn't the case in the final design. It shows photo and video, but the other options are still a spinning list to the left and right, where you can only see a few options at once, with your thumb covering half of them up. This is actually the rare case where I think the concept video based on the leaks has a bit of a more functional design. Although credit where credit is due, Apple's design is much prettier, and you can swipe through all of the options much more fluidly than before. It's no longer one at a time. With one swipe, you can get from one end of the list all the way to the other, which does make it feel faster. The phone app has a new layout and design for the first time ever. Although, interestingly, you can choose whether to use the new design or not. I think Apple has learned its lesson after being burned for the controversial Photos app introduced last year. The old phone app had tabs left to right that went Favorites, Recents, Contacts, Keypad, and Voicemail. In iOS 26, the Calls tab has your favorites along the top and your recent calls down below. Beautiful, makes perfect sense, no notes. Keypad is the same as before. Contacts browses through your contacts. That much makes sense. But weirdly, this tab has its own search field at the top of the screen that's unrelated to the search button at the bottom of the screen that's within easy reach of your thumb. You tap on the search button and you see a new window that has your most recent 5 calls at the top of the screen, again, for no apparent reason, and then a list of your voicemails below it. When you type in somebody's name in this search field, you don't see their contact information. Instead, you see a list of the most recent times you've called them. And this clearly needs some rethinking. 99% of the time, I want to search through my contacts and browse my list of contacts. The big, obvious search button that's right next to the Contacts button should do that. Hold Assist is the new feature that automatically detects hold music and pauses the phone call so you can go about your business, and it'll ring you again when an actual human starts talking to you. Now, I haven't used this myself, but friend of the channel Ian tried it and told me about an unfortunate limitation. Whenever that automated message plays that says, "Please remain on the line, we are assisting other customers," Hold Assist calls you because it thinks that a human is talking to you and that you're no longer on hold. In response to criticism of the Photos app, Apple has moved the search button to the bottom of the screen and brought back the tab bar that lets you switch between library and collections. I'm sure a lot of people will celebrate the return of the tab bar, but personally, I actually miss that I could easily swipe between the two. Swiping could be performed anywhere on the screen, whereas the tab bar has a smaller tap target in the bottom left. But I'm sure Apple could add a custom gesture to enable both and get the best of both worlds. I'm not entirely sure what the point of the Games app is. Apple's making this a big push, but it seems to just be Game Center as an app, which is nice. Game Center was previously buried in settings, but I'm not sure how much I'll use it. There's a new daily Apple News Plus puzzle called Emoji Game. You're given 3 phrases that are missing most of their letters, 3 clues that hint at what the phrases mean, and 6 sets of emoji. You have to interpret the meaning of the emoji to fill in the blank letters. It's f***ing hard. So should you install the iOS 26 beta? No, it's very buggy, your battery life will be terrible, and your phone will run hot. But you should be excited to upgrade in September. There is a lot to like here, and Apple will sand down a lot of the rough edges. For more, be sure to check out the most recent episode of the Cultcast where we talk about all of the WWDC announcements in much greater depth. Remember to like and subscribe. I'm Griffin Jones with Cult of Mac.